how exciting it must have been to be next to Henry Ford the day that the first Model T came out of the factory, or the day that Thomas Edison introduced the light bulb to the masses. The time that we are living at right now is truly magical.
AI, artificial intelligence, can be used to enhance HI, human intelligence, human potential, and human purpose.
AI will become great tools so that scientists, artists, musicians, and writers can be even more creative.
The computers and robots powered by spatial intelligence will not only be useful tools, but also trusted partners to enhance and augment our productivity and humanity.
And that's a future I'm excited about. A future where you can blend reality and imagination with your trusty AI co-pilot.
As AI advances, we will see how it will transform nearly every aspect of our lives.
The real issue is the pace of change we're seeing. We're not used to it as humans. Humans have been through technology evolutions that usually take decades.
And there is also fear, I think, around what the future of this technology will even be. How will that impact our jobs, our work, our ability to interact with one another, our ability to trust content?
And the fact that we have such a hard time understanding what's going on with the technology is one of the biggest hurdles we face in figuring out how to govern AI.
We have had many technologies in history we did not always understand, and we've accomplished amazing things with that technology. AI should be no different.
So here's our choice. We can either be complacent about our future, taking as an article of blind faith that any new technology is guaranteed to be beneficial, or we can be ambitious, thinking hard about how to steer our technology. Let's envision a truly inspiring high-tech future.
We need to teach AI common sense, norms, and values. We need to evaluate AI with scrutiny.
What's really critical is to be able to identify those risks and then identify ways of managing them.
The shape of things to come will be unlike anything we've ever seen before. Why? Because what will be shaping those things is this new partnership between technology, nature, and humanity.
I think of AI as an enabler. We as people are still very much in the driver's seat around how we're going to use it.
Human-powered, tech-enabled, and making sure that we're building those responsible guardrails. Fear is undeniable, but the opportunity ahead is really amazing.
Let me go. Thanks, Annie. Let me just share my screen again. So yeah, the idea of AI and AI being spoken about on most stages there, and how we should view this. Now, just before the webinar started, I paged through a Facebook group of AI for educators, and someone posted, AI is not a tool, it's an environment. So it somehow speaks to the same thing, that AI is so new, it is so overwhelming, and so many things we can possibly do with it. So what should we do with it? What problems should we put on the table so that AI can fix it? But that's actually not the idea. AI is not a new screwdriver or a pair of pliers. It's actually a whole new toolbox, and we should possibly reframe it, not look for the problem that AI can fix, but see how we can use AI as the opportunity. And that's what's being spoken about. AI is an opportunity. Do we know how to navigate these waters? Something that hit me hard, also a leadership thing, was that leaders stand between their people and success. I think it was the past president that said that as well. And she spoke about how leaders infuse change, how leaders have vision, how leaders can sometimes stretch their people, but also be the limiting factor, the glass ceiling. And for me, the show, the whole EDUtech experience was about its education, its leadership, a little bit about wellness, and less about technology, and for our schools. How do we make it applicable to our schools? So yeah, that's the big thing. Some other comments that were made. I love this. Just a picture gets created in my mind. If someone says, let's weave technology into education. Let's not make it a silo in the back corner office of the office, or in a room at the end of a hallway where some IT things happen. But let's let's not implement it as a program, but let's weave it into technology and let's weave it into education. Use technology. We've been saying in the Center for Technology for many years now, our mantra, our slogan has been, we should learn as we live. As new tools become part of our day-to-day living, our cell phones, a Bluetooth car in our radio, Bluetooth radio in our car, could be a Bluetooth car. Yeah, Bluetooth radio in our car. What we do with our cell phones, we read the newspaper, we do banking, we make payments. This is even my credit card at this point in time. How do we ensure that we stay relevant in school so that our living spaces are mirrored in our learning cycles, learning processes? And not to make it about technology, but to make it about the efficiency that technology brings, the data that technology brings, but still remain education focused, still remain people focused. Nice word that I was listening for new phrases that people coin, and one of them was technovate. Technovate, innovate with technology. Be on the innovation cycle in school rather than just be, okay, there's a new product out there. Because a new product becomes your vision if you don't have a vision, but rather be the visionary yourself. Big themes, I've mentioned it. AI was big, very big. I cannot tell you how many discussions we had about that, but even different discussions like cell phone, the picture around the table there, the roundtable discussion we had was about cell phone use in school and policy about that, as if the whole world is struggling with the same thing. Data, data, data. Someone said data is the fuel for AI. The more data we can create, the better we can learn, get insights, and present those. Wellness, a huge theme. It seems like post-pandemic, even possibly pre-pandemic, it was a pressure point, but post-pandemic, there's a disconnect with life outside and life inside. There's a disconnect between the household and parents and what happens at school. There's an anxiety, there's a pressure of catching up. So wellness for the staff, wellness for the learners, the classroom, and even wellness for the planet. Discussions about AI and the huge resources it steals from the environment, the amount of electricity required and the drive spaces and all these things. So the talk is on about that, and I think we should honor that and focus that. So maybe less technology and more people oriented. And then the lack of policy, not just change in policy, there's lack of policy. I thought we were slow in South Africa to produce policy on the use of AI in the class, in the school, and in the education sector. DBE has not yet produced anything. The country is still lagging behind on what our governmental policy is around this, but it's already in use. We're one of the top 10 users of ChatGPT in the world is South Africa. So yeah, we are in desperate need of some policy. Interesting thing about technology in schools, and this is something that I've faced many times when doing roadshows and talks around the country, speaking to people at schools. Why, even the service providers, the members of the Center for Technology ask us what is the hold up in traction about tech adoption, tech implementation in schools. And this was interesting, one of the workshops, and I found it very eye-opening, very revealing that I thought they were talking about classrooms in South Africa as they were talking of a classroom in Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, Singapore, Dubai, England, all around the globe. They were talking about the same types of concerns and challenges. You can see them there, students misusing technology, being strategic about it. How do we not just create it as we do it, or it is part of how we do things? Not being a product, but being an environment, not being a program, but being a solution to some problems. Data and privacy, we know all about that in this country. Students know more than educators. I heard this so many times on roadshows since 2014, 2015, when FEDSAS traveled the country and said, we should prepare for the 21st century, not because it's coming, it's already here, but plenty of places. Educators came and said, we're slow to adopt because we might look unequipped in front of the students, and we don't not want to look like the authority, and students might know more than us. This is other countries. I'm just sharing this, not saying that that's where we are, but this is what other people are saying from other countries. Educators' knowledge and their continuous professional development. How do we ensure that they develop? Online safety, critical, even in the AI chat world, but the other side of it as well. Budget stays a theme. How do we have money for new technology, and how do we stay abreast because it changes so fast? Discussion about what's the opportunity cost of not having it. How expensive it is if we do a whole year of work and send people to a workplace that doesn't exist anymore. Challenges with the pace of change. Once you get something, it's outdated 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, maybe if we're lucky 2, 3 years later. So yeah, interesting common challenges that we have. I had to share this. This was also a picture from one of the presentations, and I thought this was really good because it just explains how many I think teachers and school leaders feel. We are so busy. We cannot look for the better solution. We cannot look for the better options. There's someone offering the guys that's pushing and pulling this heavy cart with square wheels, a round wheel, and say, sorry, man, we're too busy. We've got to grind. And somehow I think we should stop somewhere, exit where we are for a day or two, like we've done with EDUtech, and just go see what can change. And if you're willing to change for the better. So yeah, change was a big thing. Oh, I didn't change this one because it's right there. Oh, let me just go back. This guy says, keep your coins. I want change. Don't give us coins, give us change. This was very interesting. I didn't have it part of the slideshow initially. And then when we shared it with our team last week at our staff summit, as I put this on the screen, a lot of people just took out their phones and started taking pictures of it and say, oh my goodness, this is us. We are the last generation to understand life before the internet. There's a bunch of kids at school that don't know life before internet. Some parents in the primary school scenario are already there, that they're the parents and they don't know life before internet, life before smartphones. I got my first smartphone in 2007, 2008, could be 2009, I guess. 2008, 2009, iPhone 3, could you believe it? And it was just revolutionary the first time I saw that. Now we've got kids in school born after the smartphone. They don't know life without it. We're the last generation to understand how to connect, how to socialize without social media. Be fluent translators of before and after technology. Last generation to wonder each morning, what should we do, rather than most people picking up their phone and saying, what did I miss? What's on the news? How many WhatsApps, texts, or emails did I miss? So this was a very interesting one, but it frames it for me that we should think about the generation sitting in front of us being wired, being built, put together completely different as we were, if I can call myself part of this generation that knew the before and after of the internet and smartphone. Why is it relevant? Because we're training kids, we're educating learners, we're preparing people for the world of work. And the world of work is changing so rapidly. Just notice the numbers there, 69 million jobs created. And this is the list of 15, and 83 million jobs. And it says destroyed there. You're seeing it right, destroyed. That's a better one, displaced. This is the World Economic Forum jobs report from 2023. So it's already more than a year old. Well, if it was published end of 2023, it's close on a year old, but this is the fastest growing and fastest declining job. Not the skills required, but the skills required very shortly. So this is what's growing as far as the employment market goes. 2 years ago, AI and machine learning, not on the list, not close to the list, suddenly top of the list. Bank tellers and related clerks, top of the list, declining jobs. Number 5 on the decline, administrative and executive secretaries. Number 7, accounting, bookkeeping. I'm an accountant by trade. I thought accounting was going to be a job that will forever be relevant. And suddenly the tools are coming to the fore to say, hey, we can do stuff that people can do with machines, and people must just enhance their human intelligence with the artificial intelligence to do deeper things, more intelligent things. So yeah, interesting list of you for you to go by if you want to see this report. I think it will be in the chat room if Alreto is back. Otherwise, I'll make sure that it's part of the info sheet that goes to you. What are we doing? What are we preparing our learners for? The grade ones of this year is going to probably work 2038, 2040. How's the world going to look then? And should we consider just thinking of changing our approach and our content? I said it earlier, artificial intelligence just dominated EDUtech Asia, and I think most of the education shows for the past 18 months, but this was a big magnifying glass on it. Most people that spoke in the plenary, Samsung, Microsoft, Google, Lenovo, Intel, I'm trying to think of them all, they spoke and said, AI is where all their development money is going. They want to create tools for educators, for students, and for parents. How do we create something for all and ensure that we've got AI literacy, that there's professional development? It's been so quick, so fast, and if we're not going to stay abreast, the new generation is going to come in and figure a few things out that we're still struggling. Keeping in mind that comment, AI is not a solution looking for a problem. It's an opportunity. It's an environment. So yes, AI dominated, and the discussions were all about what it can do, how strong it can be, how fast it's changing, but also that we need policy and that there is currently very little policy. I think Microsoft is releasing a framework very shortly, or they might have already, but we need guide rails. We need to think about this so that we understand and not just throw it all out or just give it all petrol with no brakes. So yeah, big discussion. My summation of that is it's not how and where. No, it is how and where we're going to use it rather than if we're going to use it. It's no more should we not. It is now how, where, what can we do? How can we get productive? Someone said that they think with some of the AI tools available now, a teacher should be able to save, I don't know, like 30 or 40% time for some of the admin, some of the issues that's being created. And they are great tools for lesson planning. Assessment is still a slight challenge in this, especially homework and work being done from home. But yeah, very interesting, the discussions about AI. I'll take a picture of this slide. Someone from Google shared this, I believe it is. I hope I'm allowed to share this, Google for Education. But let's credit them for it. The speaker asked, how long did it take for each activity to get to 50 million users? I guessed airplanes would be 25 years. I think I shouted out 25 years, maybe 30. I was surprised to see that it's 68 years. The internet, 7 years. Facebook, 3 years. And generative AI, 5 weeks. And it hit 100 million probably in two months' time. So the speed of change, not that there is change, but the speed of change is what is really alarming here, and how to adapt to it. Maybe let's see this one. Someone spoke about the importance of teachers, the human teacher in this world where there's so much emphasis on technology. So we've got to just balance this. I want to invite Professor Pakti. He spoke on this topic, and I thought it was revolutionary to just frame the problem statement to say, if artificial intelligence is artificial, what is the real intelligence? Coming back to some of the basics, is our zero hypothesis of no artificial intelligence so well defined? Are we creating intelligence, or just, I don't know, test takers? He spoke so widely about this, and I found this just as a topic very interesting. Opportunities, you can see there, content creation, automation, personalized learning, a very big focus on personalized learning. And Henny will talk about some Elson tricks that he noticed there. Boost productivity of faculty and staff, bottom middle there. Build literacy. So the opportunities are vast, but we've got to get on the bus and take small steps. Someone said, if you want to just ensure that you are employable for long, take some time in your December holiday and just do a week or 48 hours of AI training, find a course, follow some Facebook, YouTube, X or whatever LinkedIn groups on AI for educators, and just frame it like the rest of the world is struggling to navigate these waters. And then, funnily enough, I opened the EDUtech website this morning to see what new developments we had, and lo and behold, this is an official picture. The photographers walked around and they captured Henny. It seemed like he had a good time in Singapore. If I see this picture, Henny, was Singapore a great trip for you? What have you learned? Will you suggest that other people go as well? Did I stop sharing? Yes. Welcome on stage and share with us your thoughts.
Thank you, Rian. I really appreciate it. I just want to check if my slides are shared.
Yes.
There we go. No, what an experience, Rian. It was my first time experiencing an EdTech show of such magnitude. I've been to similar things in South Africa, but I think this is 10x of what I've experienced in Singapore. And I would like to share some of my insights just out of my perspective as a first-time attendee to something of that scale, but also from someone that deals with independent schools on a daily basis, but definitely also an educator for that regard. But the first thing I realized in terms of visionary leadership for a tech-driven education future, dealing with leadership in education, that's a FEDSAS space. You said it well, that this is how we live in this day and age. But is that how we teach at our institutions? So I think leadership at independent institutions that's definitely something to be aware of. But I know the independent school space is very adaptable, and we've also seen that during COVID, that it's easy to change direction of that ship, where in education at large, I think in South Africa, it's a slow process in changing and adapting. And I think that's an advantage, which definitely leaders in independent school space should take advantage of. And then I've also seen the role of AI in personalized learning, where the emphasis was to adapt curriculum and assessment methods to the individual needs. So it's more individualized, where we often I've seen that at the training sessions of the department, where they've got a tree. There's one graph they use to explain equity and so forth, and inclusivity in education. We've got a tree, and you ask the elephant and then also perhaps a monkey to climb the tree, and then you assess them on the same basis. And I think technology can help us to steer clear of that and work more towards assessment for learning than rather just assessment of learning at the end of the day. AI literacy and ethical considerations, obviously ethics within school management is as old as schooling and management itself. We've also seen that ethics and ethical management is part of the King report. We've just also published a King principles for the management of independent schools, and King the first principle in the King report is the management of ethics and ethical management. And that was also a big theme in the conference, where, as you stated, that policy within this sphere of AI and technology is something that's trying to catch up because it's evolving so quickly. But in that sense, I do think it's not always necessary to amend or have new policy. As new things come along, we can just rather add to existing policy in that regard. And then obviously the inclusive and equitable education. I saw great application for LSEN schools, where learners can use AI tutors, which actually, in a certain sense, it goes with the student through the curriculum, assessing the way the student interacts with the curriculum and how they manage to reach the goals, but also helps them focusing on where they need more assistance. And that in turn puts time in the pocket of the educator. And it's something we've seen is a great it's something we need. It's a great need in education. Putting time back in educators' pockets so they can focus on the core business of the day, and that's education. Not running around with all sorts of other things. So that's a great asset, I think, at the end of the day. There we go. And then self-directed learning is something which we also find in the workplace today. And I think it's that AI literacy type of thing where you really need to know how to leverage AI to be able to get the most out of it, but also to get the most out of yourself. I think that talk of Professor Mpakti was very inspirational, where, yeah, it was insightful to hear him say that AI is not something to replace the individual and individual intelligence. It's rather something that will enhance individual intelligence. So I think self-directed learning with the help of AI, asynchronous learning, these are all buzzwords, and I think it's something we should rather investigate in terms of our staffing, but also learners at our schools. And then the interactive and holistic approach to early childhood development. I always thought that technology and the smart boards and all that only comes in later in schooling, perhaps intermediate, grade 4 phase and on. But we've seen excellent exhibits of interactive use of technology where early childhood learners from 4 or 5 years can interact with technology, throwing a ball against the wall where you do equations 1 + 1 and you look for the right answer, you throw, and kinesthetically this child is also busy learning. And I think it's, yeah, this holistic approach, it's a new way of thinking about the implementation of technology. And then the last word, just to sum up, building resilience and innovation in future-ready schools. Like you always say, we are not developing or educating our learners for the world of today. We live in the world of today, but they might only go to the workplace in 2020, 40. And with technology and innovation in this sphere of AI, the world's going to look totally different by that time. So I think as leaders in education, not just independent schools, we must climb on that bus to be able to see how we can best equip our learners for the future they are going to work in, but also not be left behind. The question is not, are we going to use it? The question is, how are we going to use it to accomplish our goals and our vision in education? Rian, that is just some insights from my side.
Yeah, Annie, I love the contribution, and I think you framed it well and summed it up really well. I think it's not a question about technology. It's not a question about talking about technology. It's a question about how do we put leadership behind it to say what is the future looking like? How do we prepare for the future? How do we use the tools? How do we become smarter? How do we allocate resources? What scale we can achieve with technology, what data insights we can learn and apply our limited resources even better. I did not say this in the previous session, but I want to say that a lot of people ask us always when we talk technology about the digital divide. And one of the fun things that I saw in Singapore, some of the countries that we dealt with are in the same context as us. Village living, far from the urban areas, access. They've got, weather patterns that distance people from, as soon as it's heavy rain and heavy floods and whatever, suddenly so it was good to see that the context matches some of our problems. So we should not just think, the rest of the world is moving forward. There's a digital divide created between us and them, but it's a leadership focus. So thank you for that insight and telling us even I remember now the grade four, no, the pre-grade R's that play, they bounce the ball on the floor on the right answer and they throw it against the wall.
Exactly.
It's so interactive. They build things. It was really cool. I'm going to close.
And that's what
Yeah.
they do already at home.
Yeah.
It's not, they do it at home. We've got a Wii and we've got PlayStation, don't know what, 5 with interactive remotes. And why don't use it to our advantage in the classroom?
Got to ask these questions. And I think that's the issue for me. Education, leadership, and the kids. Let's not talk about technology all the time. I want to share my last 2 slides in closing here. Maybe just get to that slide and hopefully you can see my screen. And yes, for me, big takeaways. And once again, this is a very short session. We'll write some about it in this next Tech Talk magazine and probably have some sessions with teachers about this. We had a teacher join us, and I'm hoping that early in the new year, maybe the schedule is better at school for us to, influence a lot more people on the session. What I've found most interesting, and I don't want to say this in a negative way, I learned less big things than I'd hoped for. I thought I was going to go there and I'm going to come back with a notepad full of great ideas. And somehow it seemed like all of the people around the tables and around the coffee were talking about the same issues. It is as if the world in that segment of the globe have the same issues as us. We're definitely not far behind, or even behind, but definitely not far behind. In fact, some of the conversations we had, we could contribute quite a bit and stimulate some thought. I think we're struggling with the same things. And in FEDSAS and the Center for Technology for the past few years, we've been really trying to stay abreast of what the thought leadership is. And so maybe take hope from the fact that we are not far behind. We're in good company or in bad company, but we're in company. We're not losing out. I think we're in good company. We're all struggling with the same issues, and collectively we can address them and face them, but we should take ourselves out of this frame of mind that our problems are limited to South Africa, our region, our geography, our history, our language composition, our multiple, call it nationalities composition. Singapore has, 40 languages being spoken. And other countries as well around there. So we have problems, but not limited to our own space, which puts us in great company. My big takeaway was that leadership was the issue, and very much the change, the budgeting for it, the implementation, the support, humanship. I don't have a better word for it, but our being human, leadership and humanship. We've got to face this world of high tech, of social media, of always connected, of kids being given very expensive phones at home, but the parents asking us to be techless at school. But as soon as they get in the car, they have a iPhone 15 in their hand for the whole afternoon. And then education. What are we doing education for? Why is it that we are giving our lives to prepare kids to know stuff so that they are able to do stuff? So those were the important things for me as a takeaway. And then I want to say it was great fun taking Henny along and taking another teacher from my kids' school along. But if ever you want to infuse some fast learning, someone said it's better caught than taught. You can read all the books on electricity. You can see circuit diagrams. You can see batteries, resistors, know about volts and amps and all these things, wattage. But you just touch a live wire quickly and suddenly you realize, I now know what's electricity rather than I know of electricity. And this is why we're going on these trips and taking guys like Henny and other teachers along. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to do some tours about, visiting other schools, visiting some of these. So if you're keen, make sure you speak to us, look at what we advertise, prepare, budget, go lobby, go put some money aside at your school and say, we want to go learn not just from the best in the world, but to see how we fit in the space of the rest of the world. So with that being said, I want to see if there's any questions from anyone in the audience or comment. But it's so much fun sharing this information with you. This will be on YouTube very shortly. We're going to share this far and wide so that people know that, hey, we're in a good space in South Africa. We're doing great things. We're learning together with the rest of the world how to navigate these difficult waters. Few issues we might be 2 or 3 steps behind, but there are some issues that we are definitely 2 or 3 steps ahead. So yeah, take confidence in the fact that you're doing a great job at the schools that you are. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. I see no comments, no hands. Any last word from you? Then we greet the crowd.
Yeah, thanks, Rian. Yeah, just I think technology and the internet makes the world very small. But like you said, you have to we've seen and what it's all about. And I think working with some partners, FEDSAS will really want to try and make it possible for people to accompany us in future tours of this magnitude. But definitely awesome experience, and it was a privilege to go and visit EDUtech Asia.
Wow. Thank you, Annie. Thank you for joining us. We're going to share this far and wide, but please keep a lookout for our next magazine that will be on the shelf, so on the electronic shelf shortly. Have a great day. Have a great rest of the year, which I think is a short space left. See you guys early in the new year for some tech talks. Take care. Cheers, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.